Hello, what I'm going to do now is talk you through how to do the turn in the road. Okay, so what will happen on your test is the examiner will pull you up on the left and then say to you, I would like you to turn the car around so it's facing the opposite direction using forward and reverse gears. Try to do it with due regard and safety for other road users and in as few moves as possible. Okay, so before you just jump into your manoeuvre, again, just think about your technique that your instructor's taught you. Now, key points for this manoeuvre, in my opinion, is keeping the vehicle speed very, very slow. So you're just going to move the car with the clutch, and you may need some gas just to take the jaddering off, depending on what vehicle you've got. If the vehicle goes too fast, then you're going to push the clutch down. The other thing in terms of control of the vehicle is your steering. That's really important. It should be quick and brisk, big full turns. So I've got that in my mind. Now what I'm going to do is start with the POM routine. So clutch down fully and then into first gear. Now I'm going to set the gas gently to get a lively hum and then easing the clutch up slowly to its biting point so I get a light tug. So now I'm ready to go. I'm going to look all around me. So left shoulder, left door mirror, interior mirror, looking ahead, right door mirror, and then right shoulder. I don't need a signal on the manoeuvre. And then the car's moving very slowly. I'm going to go full lock with the steering to the right. Keep looking up and down the road in case anything changes. If vehicles do come towards you, you will need to stop. I'll tell you about that shortly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the car here so I can tell you something that I think is quite useful. When you get to the middle part of the road, that's called the crown. Just bear in mind it does dip slightly, usually towards the curb, and that's where sort of when it's raining, for drainage reasons, water will collect on the side of the road. So bear that in mind. You've got a slight downhill usually when you're approaching the curb. Now the other thing is my focal point to judge when I should turn the steering wheel the other direction. Now on this car, I'm going to turn the steering wheel the other direction, so to the left, when the curb appears underneath my right door mirror. So I'm not quite there yet, so because I've been waiting, talking, I'm going to look all around me and just make sure it's clear to move again. I'm going to get the vehicle moving very slow, and then when the curb appears underneath this right door mirror, that's when I'm going to turn right. So it's looking like it's there now, so I'm going to turn the steering wheel the other direction to the left, and now I'm going to stop again. Now my other focal point for stopping is when the curb appears underneath these red dots. Okay, once you've stopped, secure the car, especially if you're on a slight slope, and then I'm going to put it into reverse gear. Now I'm going to prepare my observations again. So because I'm reversing backwards, I'm going to start with my right. So right shoulder, right door mirror, interior looking ahead, left door mirror, and then left shoulder. And now I'm going to come back slowly, and I've got my full lock onto the left. So I'm looking over the left shoulder, looking up and down the road. And when I get to the half point or the crown of the road, I'm just going to pause and stop and tell you your next focal point. So your focal point going backwards, I use the corner of the window, and I've got a couple of stickers here for you to help you judge when you should turn. It's always going to be roughly on a hatchback vehicle, this sort of area for your turning point. So just practice when you got a moment with your instructor or with a friend or family in your vehicle, and you'll just try and work out your focal point. So my focal point for turning right here is going to be when the curb appears in line with that green dot. So I'll just reset my observations. Just looking at that green dot, and for me, about now, it's appearing underneath, so I'm going to turn the steering wheel the other direction to the right. And then I'm going to stop again when the curb appears underneath the red dot. So that's my stopping point. Just remember, when you turn your steering wheel, avoid dry steering. Again, I'll talk to you about that shortly. So I've put my handbrake on because I'm on a slight slope. This is called a camber. And I'm going to go into first gear. Now, before I move away, I'm going to find my biting point, so setting the gas, easing the clutch up to the bite, looking over my left shoulder, left door mirror, interior mirror, right door mirror and right shoulder. Now I'm just going to look up and down the road before I move off again. The examiner will probably ask you to drive on. They won't get you to stop straight away. Now there's a few little things that I mentioned whilst we're doing the manoeuvre. One was stopping for vehicles that come towards you. Now if a vehicle does come towards you, remember it's their priority. So you must stop, acknowledge it's their priority. You might be thinking there's not enough space in the road for the vehicle to go around you, which is probably true. But you believe it or not, sometimes you'll stop and then that person will actually go up the curb and go around you for a laugh. Obviously stop, acknowledge it's their priority, and if they continue to wait, then you can proceed with caution. Other things I mentioned was dry steering. This means turning the steering wheel when the car's not moving. What happens is you can damage the tread on your tyres and knock out the wheel alignment on your car. On your driving test, that's deemed as a minor fault usually for control. Just remember you can do it in more than 3 turns. For example, vehicles may pull up near you as you're doing the manoeuvre, which makes it more difficult. So that's why they do say as few moves as necessary, but they're not restricting it to just 3 turns. So if you don't think you're going to quite make it and you're getting too close to the curb, then stop and do what we call a shunt, which is going backwards to give you space to get more steering in to go forwards again. Observations. Obviously I was talking a lot about the technique, but when you're going forwards, obviously you've got to be scanning all around you. When you're going backwards, really important, you're looking over this left shoulder predominantly, looking ahead, looking over the right shoulder. As you approach the curb, you will need to look over that right shoulder to judge where the curb is. Remember the focal points. But again, you can't stare for too long because you could miss something. Sometimes if you're finding these focal points difficult, what you can do is wind your window down and just stick your head out. That's okay on your test as long as you're not sort of staring at one particular area and you're still glancing around you. Obviously you can't miss anything. So you can wind your window down and stick your head out to judge the curve. There's no problems with that. Just remember you only get 1 attempt on this manoeuvre, so go at your own speed, yeah? Obviously you don't want to long it out, but stop in a couple of times just to think about what you can do with the steering before you do it. Or stopping if you hear something, for example, and then finding out where it's coming from. There's nothing wrong with that. You might stop because you think you've heard something and there might be a car down the road. You've had a look and it's gone down the road. It's better to be safe than sorry. If you miss that vehicle coming towards you, the examiner could mark you down for a serious fault there for not seeing an approaching vehicle. So anytime you hear anything, or if you do need a little bit of thinking time, you can't go over the top, then just stop and think about what you're going to do before you do it.